Okay, this is going to cover more specifically the stair-step process. This is where we really look at getting into a trade using the tricks indicator as a momentum indicator, allowing us to find a point where the momentum is going our direction and using that literally as an entry, what we call the kink entry. A stair-step pattern is using the kink entry with the stair-step that we use with our TC. Okay, so basically this is what the stair-step process is. We start identifying in the market, number one, our trend indicators are all in the down position, or well, in this example, short position. We identified a trend. Okay, so the trend is running our way. Now what we're looking for is the stair step. We've got, in this example, a high. The market pushes down, sucks back, produces a lower high, and then in this example continues going down. What I'm going to do is drag the chart over here a little bit so that you can't see what happened after the process. We're going to go candle by candle, frame by frame here. Okay, so we've got a high here. We've identified a point where we can consider a high. We've got a high here in the chart, and actually if you look at this, we've got a series of highs here. We've got a high and a lower high, high and a lower high right here. So this would work as a stair step in itself. So we'll do this one first. And this is just a very small example, but you can see I wouldn't necessarily take this because it's hard to really find out or see if this is a strong trend yet. But you can tell that there is a range right here. Let me draw a straighter line. A range which has created an area of support and an area of resistance. And oftentimes when you can find the right amount of strength in this tricks indicator showing you that it's really kind of setting itself up to break the support level, getting in there is not a bad thing. You can do that because it tends to run. So in this example here, we've got a high. Look at our tricks, a high. It's actually right on the zero line for us. That's good. As it pushes down and then starts to suck back up, we're going to want to wait for it to create another peak for ourselves. It turns up, and then the very next candle, look what happened. It peaked out. So it's given us a lower high. Well, when we look at our indicator, this candle is the candle that formed that created this kink back down in our direction. That is what we want to look for with the stair step trade and using the kink entry. So the process here now is we want to wait for this candle to finish forming and make sure that the kink is a solid kink. Otherwise, you can be watching a 2-minute chart, and 1 minute and 30 seconds into the candle is producing the kink. You may enter, and then the last 30 seconds, the candle completely reverses and it goes the opposite direction. That kink is gone. So you want to make sure that the kink is solid there and that this candle has formed. The whole process about this is to wait now for the entry candle, which is the candle after the kink, and that would be this candle right here. Now we have an entry zone because now that we have a kink, we are looking to get into the market. So before this candle even opens, we need to start identifying where our entry zone is. Our entry zone would be, and it's pretty tight on this pattern, the back end of our entry zone will be where the entry candle would meet the short-term moving average. The end of our entry zone would be 1 to 2 ticks past the previous low, which would be right about here. So if I can draw this straight enough, that is our pocket of area where we can enter the trade. And hopefully you followed where I drew the second line. I basically took the low point right here and went 1, 2 ticks below that. And that is where our entry zone is. So entering anywhere within this area is appropriate for this trade. And it just happens that this entry is at the very last area that we can enter, the very last tick that we can enter conservatively. And it ran about 1, point. Well, let's look. Actually, this was a very big run, so it ran several points. Okay, so that's the essence of the stair step process. Let's look at it again. We've got a high, lower, high. It's pushed down. We need to wait for it to finally get to a point where it's going to suck back up, allow us to find a place to make our next lower high. Well, here's a doji spinning top. That's an indication that the trend might reverse. Our next candle pushes up. The candle after that. Oh, look what's happening. It's starting to hesitate, and it's giving us a peak out point, basically a lower high. Well, we can see that in our tricks indicator here. We've got a lower high. We've got a negative slope happening on both places. This one's not as strong of a negative slope as it is up here, so that's showing a weaker confirmation, but yet still the confirmation is there. Now, we can't enter this trade until after our kink has formed in the tricks indicator, and it forms basically on this candle right here. Because as you go down, you can see the kink that we want to see is actually right here, where the tricks has started to flatten out or show sign that the momentum is now changing back into the direction, into our direction. And that's what we want. That's the way you can use the tricks as a momentum indicator. Now the tricks, if you know how the tricks works, the tricks takes 3 different formulas to calculate the market at, and actually does a really good job of filtering out market noise. So when you actually see the tricks kinking, you can be pretty confident that it's kinking because the momentum is changing, not just a false signal. And that's not all the time, but in general, that's a great indication of momentum change. So that this would not be our entry candle, but would be the candle we're watching before we're telling us get ready to enter the market. The next candle opens, and we need to have already identified our entry zone, which would be anywhere where the entry candle would touch the SMA, the short-term SMA, over here, to 1 to 2 ticks past the low of our stair step. So this is quite a good range, quite a big range to enter in. And an entry anywhere in this point would be appropriate. Personally, if you are inside the entry zone, I prefer an entry at or one tick past the close of the kinking candle. Preferably maybe 1 tick past the close of the kinking candle, so about right there. So if you were to enter going short there, you have a potential of about 1.5, a little over 1.5 points going short there. So that's really how to use the stair step with the kink entry.